Hot Mic is brought to you by Red Wing Shoes of Fargo. Built to last. 3003 Main Avenue, Fargo.
Hot Mic with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No.
I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. I was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mic.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota.
Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mic. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Monday morning. Welcome to the What Happened edition of Hot Mic on WDAY Extra, KSFL TV in Sioux Falls, KMBN in Rapid City, and all parts in between at Inforum.com. Happy Monday, everybody. The 16th day of February is here, 2026. Hope you all had a dynamite weekend, enjoyed Valentine's Day appropriately. Welcome to our show here on this Monday. Lots to unpack from a busy last couple days, which we'll get to in due time. And we thought that the run of teams moving from FCS to FBS was done. You were mistaken with the news that was broken Saturday night that our friends in Sacramento didn't want to have NDSU have all the fun, that they are now going to be an FBS team. We'll get to the news on Sac State in an appropriate time. We'll devote some time to that later on in the show. We got a bunch still of emails coming. I appreciate the feedback we got on the scheduled conversation we had on Friday with Matt Larson here, if you missed it, for about an hour on Friday's show, and dove into a bunch of things, including the EA video game, which got a bunch of traction on our social media over the weekend. But I wrote a column that we posted on Friday morning on the scheduling, and we'll dive some more into that if we have time at about 10:35 this morning, because there was some good feedback we got over the weekend, and still a bunch of questions on how this is going to work and what particularly is going to happen on that. So we'll dive into that coming up later on in the program. We're into the second week of the Olympics. Big day today. The United States women's hockey team will play at about a half hour from now. They're on the ice against the Swedes in the semifinals. Winner of this goes to the gold medal game. So we will not provide any spoilers here. If you want to watch, hey, we're in a two-tablet environment now where you can have the tablet and the television on, whatever you want to do. We won't spoil that too much throughout the game, as I know some are probably trying to watch when you get home today. More power to you. Canada and Switzerland is the other women's hockey semifinal as we reach the second week of the Olympics beginning today. So we'll try and tiptoe as best we can on that coming up throughout the show. We'll still do our best of the weekend as we do each and every Monday as well. Fun weekend for our guy Tom Hoagie. Made some money on the golf course this weekend again at Pebble Beach, course that he knows all too well, which we'll show you in just a little bit. We'll also unpack the Bison men victory up in Grand Forks. North Dakota State with a resounding win on the men's side on Saturday afternoon in beating North Dakota and getting one step closer to a first Summit League championship in 6 years. Have not experienced that. They are in the driver's seat after what happened Saturday afternoon, which we'll get to in all due time. And also try and explain the NBA's new All-Star format, which I'm not sure any of us still really figure out. But Anthony Edwards had a pretty good game, which we'll show you in just a little bit. But we'll start our show with the wrap-up of the weekend in Grand Forks. The Bison women were playing up at UND yesterday, looking for the weekend sweep. Of course, NDSU entered on a 20-game win streak. The Bison had the long bye. They did not play at all last week after beating Omaha a week ago Saturday by 51. So they had 8 full days off between basketball games. And, of course, we highlighted it last week. That meant the return of Jocelyn Schiller back to UND, and was a muted response. She got quite a bit of cheers, actually. The Bison women took the cheering out of this game early on. Abby Kraswinski was great. I mean, rinse and repeat for Avery Coonan. She scored 8 points, had 3 rebounds in the first 3.5 minutes of the game. Here, that was an and one. Here's another one down low. Again, they were going to go to their monster, and she was monstrous. Right before the end of the half, Kraswinski cans a big-time three. That put the Bison up 39-26 going into halftime, and the floodgates open from there. This is a nifty. I mean, she's gotten so good, has Coonan, at that up-and-under finish. Marissa Frost didn't have the biggest point-scoring game. She didn't need to because Coonan's knocking down threes. She did that last week, does another one. That's her third made three of the season. And then Schiller did her customary drive to the basket and score. Jossie had 14 in her return to the Betty yesterday. Bison put the hammer down in the second half. Molly Lenz knocks home a three. NDSU got by up by as many as 31 in the second half. The Bison cruise 87-51 to win a 21st consecutive game. Coonan goes for a season-high 29 points, game-high 13 rebounds at 4 blocks, her 17th double-double of the year. Schiller goes for 14 points and 2 assists. The Bison shot nearly 49% for the game. Mackenzie Hughes led UND with 22 as the Fighting Hawks dropped to 3-10. But the Bison keep on rolling, now 23-2 on the season after a dominant win yesterday.
It was a little weird, I think, just coming back, but I think as soon as the game started, I kind of forgot about everything and was just excited to play with this team.
After your coach said the first 5-6 minutes took a while to get going, did you sense that too?
Yeah, I mean, I think we were just trying to get used to a new way of executing, especially getting it to Avery and just kind of flowing with that, and I think we really got it going after those first few minutes.
Knowing both sides of the rivalry, does that make it any different today?
I mean, it's a rivalry either way, I think, so, I mean, everyone was pumped to come into this game, and so was I.
There's a lot of new faces on UND as well, so did that kind of change things as well?
Yeah, I mean, I know a few of them still, but I mean, a lot of them are just new people, and so it was just fun to get to play a new team.
It's important. It's important to our alums. It's important to our community. It's important to NDSU that we represent ourselves really well in this game. I've been fortunate everywhere that I've been to have a real rival, in-state rival, and have embraced that and enjoyed, what that brings, the good times and the bad ones. It really is fun. I think it's great for the state of North Dakota as well. So proud that we came out on the good end today.
So a monster win again. Bison now, as we're in the home stretch here, we have 2 weeks to go in the Summit League basketball season, which is kind of crazy to say that out loud. NDSU still controls its own destiny. Heck, they could wrap this thing up here in the next week and a half. Bison will host St. Thomas coming up on Thursday, and then a rather large game in Vermillion on Saturday against South Dakota, with the Coyotes are tied for second with South Dakota State. Remember, the Coyotes have the head-to-head tiebreaker right now as they beat the Jackrabbits, we remember, a couple weeks ago in Vermillion. They have to play the final day of the season as well, that game in Brookings. Those are going to be the top three in one shape, form, or another. That's going to be the top 3 seeds. So if you're starting to now plan for Sioux Falls, anticipate the Bison women will either play at 2:30 on Thursday, March 5th, or at noon, I would say, on March the 5th. Noon is when the 2 seed plays. 2:30 is when the 1 seed plays. I don't make the rules on this, folks. That's how it goes. And if you're finished third, they wouldn't play till Friday. That would be precipitous here with the Bison have left. Obviously, they have another game with UND. They have St. Thomas and Open. Obviously, the Jackrabbits coming a week from Wednesday after that. St. Thomas has played some better basketball as well. We mentioned last week the news came out that Ruth Sin has announced her retirement. They are right now in a fight with Oral Roberts. They have the head-to-head. They just beat ORU for the 4th spot, and then you see the rest of the league standings from there. On the men's side, we mentioned the Bison took care of business with a emphatic victory over UND on Saturday. So NDSU remains 2 games up on both St. Thomas and on, or just St. Thomas, though, because UND lost for the 4th time. So it looks like UND's likely going to be locked into the 4 or the 3, but let's see what happens here over the next couple weeks. Omaha got a big win yesterday. They knocked off Denver. That was another Summit League nationally televised game, if you those that didn't know. Omaha has now won 2 in a row. South Dakota owns the 5 spot. Then Denver, after losing, and Denver and USD play this week, so that should be fun. Then the Jackrabbits, who got a much-needed win in Tulsa. Remember, NDSU plays SDSU Wednesday night in Brookings, and then Oral Roberts and Kansas City. That'll be the 8-9 matchup. That's locked in. So for those of you going Wednesday night, the opening night of the tournament, it's going to be Oral Roberts and Kansas City playing to start the Summit League basketball tournament, with the winner of that getting the 1 seed. For the Bison, what they have left: at South Dakota State Wednesday, home for Kansas City Saturday, at St. Thomas a week from Thursday. That could very well be for the league championship. Because remember, they have 2-game lead, and they have the head-to-head tiebreaker. So essentially, they have a 3-game lead on St. Thomas. And then they end the season to the Bison with UND at home. So if they're able to get the game Wednesday night in Brookings, it's nearly a hammerlock for them that they've got this thing. Again, not certain, but pretty darn close that they've had this thing wrapped up come the last 3 games of the season, which is remarkable to say that out loud. But that game on Wednesday will not be any walk in the park. We know South Dakota State will be amped to see the Bison coming up on Wednesday. And for NDSU, it's a second straight big rivalry game on the road after how they played on Saturday in Grand Forks. More hoops talk coming up in our second hour of our show. We move our first segment along. I mentioned on Friday we are under a embargo of what we can show Olympic-wise, highlight-wise. If I could show you the skier that had a tantrum this morning in the slalom, I would do that, because that was the best piece of video I've seen in a long time. The guy literally picked up his skis, threw his ski poles. He was so frustrated with the conditions. We would, but we can't. Instead, we can show you what the men's hockey team did yesterday to the Germans as the United States wrapped up group play, and they did it emphatically in Milan yesterday afternoon. The U.S. had already beaten Latvia in its opener. They beat Denmark Saturday, so playing the back end of a back-to-back, and our guy Matt Boldy is playing some great hockey. Zach Werenski scoring for the United States as well. He plays for the Columbus Blue Jackets. I'm sure you all know that at home. We know the Kachuk brothers are awfully good. There's another tip home. Austin Matthews has been really good, the captain. He plays for the Toronto Maple Leafs, native of Arizona. That's a beautiful tip there out in front from Jack Eichel, formerly of the Buffalo Sabres and Boston University. Saw him play, beat UND in the Frozen Four way back when in 2015. Tap and rebound there for Matthews, who had not scored yet. That from our guy Jake Sanderson from the University of North Dakota. U.S. wins big, 5-1. They win the group. Now, how this works seeding-wise would require a PhD basically to explain it. But since the Canadians beat the French by 8, Canada scored 10 yesterday. They win the goal differential because it's a soccer deal, because it's international. So here is how the bracket lays out. There's 12 teams in the men's hockey tournament. Everybody advances to, quote-unquote, the playoffs. Tomorrow is the elimination round that begins. 5 plays 12, 6 plays 11, 8 plays 9, 7 plays 10. The United States finished 2, so they'll play the winner of Sweden and Latvia. That's tomorrow afternoon. The United States game will be Wednesday at 2 o'clock. Canada's the one. Slovakia won its group, and Finland was the next highest finisher. They are the 4 seed. Quarterfinals are Wednesday. The semis are Friday. The gold medal game is Sunday, and then we're done. This is a quick tournament, folks. They are not messing around. Then back to the NHL season here next week. So that's what the men's hockey tournament looks like, which will resume tomorrow in Milan. As I mentioned, the USA women playing coming up this afternoon, about here, I'd say 20-some-odd minutes against Sweden. Sweden beat the United States in women's hockey in the semis back in 2006. Absolute stunner. The only time the United States has not won either gold or silver in the Winter Olympics was then in Italy 20 years ago. So we'll keep you abreast of that as well. Last thing before we set up our show here on this Monday. So the NBA has been testing a new All-Star game format. We've lamented this for any time. I've resisted showing it unless we had some from the Timberwolves go crazy. Ant did that a couple years ago because no defense is played. There's no impetus to try. So Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, said, all right, well, let's change up the format. We're going to play 4 games that last a quarter, pitting 2 United States made-up teams against a world team, which concept-wise is not bad. Actually, in Olympic years, somebody threw this out on social media yesterday. It was great. In the Olympic years, like last year was, or 2024 was an Olympic year, 28 is, this would be fantastic to get you ready for what the Olympics are going to be in Los Angeles later in the year. So the format-wise is a bit wonky. I think if we're looking for guys to actually try, which has been an issue, I think we got that solved yesterday. Our guy Anthony Edwards certainly showed up with President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama there in the front row. Ant went nuts yesterday. I don't know how good that must have felt going over LeBron to make that jumper, drive and finish here. Again, they were playing the Stars and the Stripes were facing off against yesterday. And a 3 there. He was named the MVP of the All-Star game as he was fantastic in that. And Wembanyama actually was out there blocking shots. I got to give the nod to Wemby. Was fantastic. Edwards, by the way, 32 points on 13 of 22 shooting with 9 rebounds and 3 assists. To hedge out Kawhi Leonard, of course. Kawhi was playing at home. That game was in Los Angeles. So, again, they had 3 groups. Team Stars, comprising young American standouts. That was Ant's team. Team Stripes, which that was LeBron's team. Basically, I think they ran out of gas because they actually were trying. And then a world team filled with players like Luka, like Jokic, and Wemby, which is scary that they're all on the same team. I like the idea. I think there were a lot of people that were PO that the game was at 4 o'clock Central Time. That's because the Olympics were happening. I think next year, once we're in a non-Olympic year, it'll go back to prime time. But this game hasn't been on broadcast TV, I don't know, 20-plus years? Because TNT's had the All-Star game forever, that now it's back on broadcast TV. So you'll see, I would think, better ratings simply because it's on broadcast TV. There's something to be said for that. But it was an awkward time because NBC wants to lead into its Olympic coverage that started at 7. In terms of format, anything is better than what they had. So we'll give them the nod at least for trying. We'll see what reaction comes out of that. Again, now the Wolves have the full week off. NBA season doesn't restart, at least for Minnesota, till Friday when they have Dallas coming to Target Center. We've got our usual Monday lineup of guests coming up here on this opening day of the week. We'll salute our best of the weekend coming up in just a few minutes. At 9:35, our guy Sam Herder will join us. If you thought we were done, like I mentioned, with the chatter of FCS, FBS talk, Sacramento State has entered the conversation for a buttload of money. That we've been talking about this for 2 years. They wanted out of FCS. They got their wish. We'll talk with Sam about that and a couple other things at 9:35. Jeff Kolpack will be by at 10 o'clock. Jeffrey was up at the Bison women beatdown yesterday of UND. We'll chat about that. Some other Mountain West topics with Jeff as well. And as I mentioned at 10:35, we'll open the email inbox. We got plenty to get into in there from a variety of topics, whether it's schedule, money, you name it. We've got much more to chat about in the Bison and the Mountain West. So we'll do that coming up at 10:35. That and a heck of a lot more here on this Monday. We're just getting started. We come back. We'll salute our best of the weekend. We go to the golf course to start. Why not? Especially when it's 45 degrees out. Hot Mike returns after this. We do it each and every Monday. We salute our best of the weekend. We paused last week because we had a slightly amount of news happening last Monday. So we appreciate the submissions that we got last week. Unfortunately, we didn't have time to get to them. Plenty to choose from this week. And we'll start, why not? It was sunny out. I'm sure people had the golf clubs ready to go. Sam was at the simulator, I know, so why not? Pebble Beach Pro-Am was going on this weekend. Our guy Tom Hoagie, who, of course, won there 4 years ago, which is crazy to say that out loud, for his first PGA Tour victory, was zooming up the leaderboard again this weekend. Saturday, okay round, lost a little bit of ground. Sunday, really good final round, including some pretty nice tee shots. This one at the 7th, which where he won a few years ago. Oh, that was dynamite. This for birdie. His front nine was wild. It went from horrendous to this at the 9th. This is a chip in, airmailed the green. Why not a birdie? Look at his scorecard when he walks away from here. And finished the front nine. Birdie, 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 birdie. Went out in 32. He ended up tying for 14th. Meanwhile, Scotty Scheffler decided to show up in the final round. That birdie at the 14th tied him for the lead with Colin Morikawa. I mean, this is dynamite golf. If you're a golf nerd like myself, you've got these two guys battling out. Let's go. Morikawa answers with a monster birdie at the 15th. He takes a one-shot lead. At 18, Lion in 2. This was for Eagle 3. You just got to get it close, which is exactly what he did. MW Lee was hoping for a playoff, and you can see it was a tad windy right off the ocean. Morikawa had this to win, which he secures. In the process, takes home $3.6 million, winning by one stroke. Our guy Hoagie finished 14th in a tie. Pretty good weekend, $340,000 for Tom over the weekend. More importantly, in the old FedEx Cup chase, he moved up 10 spots. Hoagie's now got one top 10 and a top 15. That, and in two good events that pay out A, a lot of money, and B, a lot of FedEx Cup points. Tom is now 23rd in the FedEx Cup points race, which that includes a missed cut in there as well. That's exactly where you want to be. Top 30 make the PGA Tour Championship, all that good stuff. Helps out the world rankings. Still got a couple events before the Masters. Got to win it to get into Augusta this year for Hoagie. Good weekend, though. Morikawa Scheffler was dynamite golf as well. Speaking of dynamite, shout out to our guy Tyler Borman and his Concordia men's basketball team. The Cobbers are heading back to the MIAC postseason for the third consecutive year. We had Jacob Cook at our show a couple months ago. Cobbers are playing well. Saturday against McAllister, they did exactly what they had to do. Peyton Shell, Peyton Belka combined for 35 points in the first half. They had 9 threes before halftime. Was one of them right there. 95-64 victory for the Cobbers on Senior Day. Shell had 24. I'm going 6 of 9 from the field. 17-6 is Concordia. 9-5, and in the MIAC playoffs, they've won 7 of their last 8. I think that probably deserves. Last time we had Borman on, they were stuck on their bus heading back. That was before the new year, so I would imagine we're going to have him on again here soon. Cobbers are now tied for 5th in the conference with 2 games remaining. Top 6 make it into the MIAC postseason. They're a half game behind Carleton and St. John's, which are tied for 3rd at 10-5. St. Olaf is in 2nd at 11-3. So they'll be playing in the postseason. The Cobber women, we had Kim Wagers on, I know, last month as well. They won dominant fashion. They're heading back. Good times over at Memorial Auditorium, and we haven't been able to say that a ton for both teams. So congratulations to Borman's group. Cobbers are heading to the MIAC postseason as well. Finally, to wrap up our best of the weekend, we don't normally do montages, but what happened Saturday calls for it. So before we show you what happened, real brief, if you were waiting for the Bison UND game on television, first, my apologies, because I got a bunch of emails like, well, first off, we didn't have the game. Midco didn't have the game. CBS Sports Network had the game. And to boot, Colgate Navy ran 30 minutes long because they went overtime. This is what happens when CBS does this, because, hey, we want college basketball all day, that they schedule, there's no buffer. It goes 11, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, that if a game goes long, you're hosed. You could stream it if you have access to that, and we're going down the rabbit hole here. So you miss the first half hour of the game, which, frankly, the first half hour of the Bison UND game on Saturday stunk. It was some bad shots, turnovers, you name it. Second half, a different story. And Markai Strickland, for the second time this year on CBS, decided to put on a dunk party because he was fabulous. This was the first of many in the second half. That one got the Bison going. He passed up a layup early. This one was the poster that Freddie Coleman was talking about with a flex as well that took the broadcast to commercial after that. Watch this one again. He's done this a couple times. That is an absolute hammer over Nashvili. Guga from UND. Added to it. How about another one with an and one? Every time he's staring over at the Bison bench, which were going nuts each time he had one. One more for the finishing touch. He ended up with 5 of them on Saturday. Each time, Bison bench was going nuts. He's done this. He had that windmill jam. He had the reverse one against Oral Roberts that ended up getting on SportsCenter when the Bison won against ORU in double overtime back in January. He has that ability around the rim that we haven't seen since, I think, Trayvon Wright. Trayvon Wright was just an intimidating force that he would get so far above, like his waist would be in line with the rim. Go back and watch some Trayvon Wright videos. You can search my Twitter account for me because they were amazing. Between 2011 and 2014, the man could not stay fixed to the ground. Markai Strickland is in that same boat, at least in my opinion. Maybe I'm way off. I've seen 20 years of Bison back. I've seen some pretty good dunks. Grant Nelson had a few. Rocky Cruiser had a couple ones that made me take my breath away. No one hammers the basketball like Strickland since Trayvon Wright, in my opinion. And he did it on Saturday. We'll have more on the Bison victory in Grand Forks coming up in our second hour. We'll break now. We come back. Sam Herder on the other side of the break with the latest on Sacramento State is heading to the FBS. That's coming up when Hot Mike returns on a Monday morning. Back after this. Welcome back, everybody. Hot Mike off and rolling here on this Monday morning. Jeff Kolpack coming up in about a half hour. Get all to our Bison chat then. But it is Monday at 9:35. Our guy thought we were going to be done with him because the Bison news to the Mountain West Conference, but lo and behold, Sacramento State says, pump the brakes. We got more FCS news to chat about on a Monday, which means Sam Herder joins us as he does each and every Monday. We've been talking literally. I went back and looked. The first time you and I had a discussion on this was 2.5 years ago that Sacramento State was looking elsewhere. We've discussed this ad nauseum. It became official Saturday night, Sam, that not to the Mountain West, not to Conference USA. They are going to the MAC, the Mid-American Conference, which is based in Ohio and Illinois and New York. That's where Sac State's going starting this year.
Yeah, it's been quite the journey for them to get there, too. And this was probably not among Sac State's top 5 options when they initially, went on this quest to get to the FBS. But, I think they kind of put themselves in the position of we have to get into the FBS no matter what. Whatever door opens up for us, we have to kick that door down because they generated so much community excitement and engagement to get to the FBS. And they had these NIL pledges and, even after they hit a lot of roadblocks as far as trying to get to the FBS, the president was still saying, we plan on going to FBS at some point. And so I think they kind of, in a way, dug themselves into a hole of like, we got to get to the FBS no matter what. And they joined the MAC, which is probably the worst FBS conference, and it doesn't have much of a TV deal. And Sac State is paying $18 million to get in on top of the $5 million transition fee. So $23 million total to jump up to the FBS. And I don't know. I think if you're Sacramento State, you're excited about it because you got it done. But, it's certainly the reaction to this was quite a bit different compared to the NDSU to the Mountain West one when it comes to just the national reaction to this move.
Well, it's the number one is going to jump out at everybody. So it's $18 million. NDSU's entry fee to the Mountain West was $12.5, and we were just visiting off air that maybe it could have been less than that for Sac State, and then they found out that NDSU's was as high as it was. Maybe the MAC decided to jack it up. So all told, Sam, it's $23 million because the $5 million FCS to FBS jump to the NCAA. That is an exorbitant amount of money. I don't care what anybody says about that.
Yeah, and I think I could be wrong, but I remember back when it looked like maybe potentially they were going to get their FBS independent waiver approved, and they were kind of talking about the $5 million entrance fee, and I think like $2.5 million of it was going to be asked to be raised like from the students or something like that. So I don't know where this $18 million is going to come from. It's more than half of their athletic budget as a whole, and most of their athletic budget is subsidized anyway. So I know Sacramento State recently signed a kind of a new contract with I think it was like a casino for, a handful of $1 million. And so, they have money, from the community that they can maybe tap into now that they are FBS. But yeah, it's quite the leap to get into this conference. And I was thinking maybe it'd be around $10 million entrance fee, but that jumped all the way up to $18 million. But like I said, I think if you're Sac State, you kind of have whatever door opens up. I think they were in a position where they had to take whatever entry point they could into the FBS.
Did the MAC need a school? I mean, they were adding UMass. Northern Illinois, obviously, they were losing to the Mountain West Conference. I don't know if the MAC obviously had to see the money out there and say, well, if we can get nearly $20 million, let's do it, even if we don't necessarily need another member?
Yeah, I think, and that's why I was hesitant whenever talking about FCS to FBS realignment. Like I even a year ago, I said, we might see a couple, but you look around the FBS and no one really needs to add anyone. Like the Mountain West didn't need to add NDSU. They wanted NDSU. NDSU wanted to go, and I think that's why you saw the entrance fee, because it was, well, we don't need to add you. How much would you be willing to pay?
Correct.
Plus, we think you'd be a valuable member. I think it's the same thing with the MAC. They were maybe looking at adding a new member, but they didn't have to. And I think that's why they went to Sacramento State and really jumped up the entry fee to get in. And I think I first heard about Sac State going to the MAC back during the football season or right before the football season. I was like, hey, this might be their entry point because the pitch is for weekday action games. Whenever Sac State has a home game, they could maybe do a doubleheader where Akron is hosting at 6 p.m. Central Time, and then Sac State is hosting at 9 p.m. Central Time, 7 local time, and they can do the back-to-back Wednesday night action games or Tuesday, whatever it is. I think that is a part of the pitch, and I think the MAC has their TV deal coming up soon. They make less than $1 million per team right now, so it's probably the worst TV deal in the FBS. So I think they're trying to boost up their TV deal and what they can do with it.
Well, the old Sacramento State to Buffalo, New York is going to be a heck of a Wednesday night game on MACtion, I can tell you that.
Yeah, and I mean, you can understand it's locally when it comes to Sacramento that the FCS just doesn't move the needle. When Northern Arizona or Idaho State, Idaho come to town, locally it just doesn't really move the needle. Now they draw a decent attendance. It's not like they only get 5,000 people at their games. They draw a decent attendance, but the thought there is that FBS teams will move the needle more. Initially it was, well, what if we can get San Jose State and Fresno State and, Colorado State into Sacramento? That will really move the needle and draw attendance. We'll see what weekday games against some of those teams you mentioned. Does the crowd stay the same? Does it go down? Does it go up a little bit? I think that's going to be fascinating to see what their attendance is going to be playing this MAC schedule.
And I don't think anybody's going to miss them. How outward the president, Dr. Luke Wood, has been over, I'd say, the last 18 months. Very aggressive, very in your face. Obviously, the whole dust up with Montana and the whole thing that happened there during the season. But outwardly declaring it JV, and he had to walk that back. Sam, nobody's going to miss him on this. You know what I mean? Like NDSU, I think there was a general sense of malaise, like, oh, man, that's a tough deal. Sac State, I think, don't let the door hit you on the way out. I get the general sense on that one.
Yeah, Sac State, I mean, they were really good from 2019 through 2022. They won a few Big Sky titles. Troy Taylor had them humming, but after he left, Sac State kind of really fell off, and they weren't really, I mean, they were a focal point last year just because of all the storylines around Sac State, but as far as on the field, they didn't really move the needle a whole lot. And even going into this year, they were kind of already, I feel like half of us kind of treated them as an FBS team anyways, because they were set to play an FCS independent schedule. They had a lot of unknowns on their roster. They lost a lot of their top guys, coaching turnover. And so even going into the 2026 season, had Sac State stayed FCS, they really wouldn't have been on the radar a whole lot. So the NDSU one was not jarring, but it was like, okay, this is really going to impact things on the FCS national scale. Sac State a little bit less so, just because I think people were more thinking, okay, eventually they're going to find their way into the FBS. Honestly, for me, the sooner the better, just so we can kind of put this whole storyline behind us. And it's good for the athletic department and the university and the town itself, because from the start I said, hey, it makes sense for Sac State to try to do this, to try to go FBS. I disagreed with some of the messaging along the way, but I agreed overall with their mission to go FBS. And I also said if they don't go FBS, it's going to be quite embarrassing for them because of all the promises. If they don't deliver it, it's going to be a black mark on their athletic department. And so even though we can question the MAC, $18 million weekday games, at the end of the day, they promised FBS and they were able to deliver that.
Here's an impossible question to ask you, so I love doing that. Will they be any good at this level? Because, I mean, they had Scattaboo. They made it to the quarterfinals at home in 22. That's when they lost to Incarnate Word. The following year, they won a playoff game in 23 in Grand Forks and then lost to South Dakota. That's it in terms of they have never made a beyond a quarterfinal, never made a semifinal in FCS. Does that mean anything going to FBS, I guess, is the question.
Yeah, I think they'll be decent, middle of the pack in the MAC. Like I said, the MAC isn't a very good conference, and so it's not like they're joining, the meat grinder or anything like that. They have a lot of unknowns on their roster. Like even going into this year, I probably wouldn't have had them in my preseason top 25 just because a lot of their top guys left after their head coach left. So I don't know much about the 2026 Sacramento State team. Carson Conklin is back at quarterback. That's a big deal. I think they'll be good at running back, but offensive line, defensive line, linebackers, I'm not really sure there for Sac State. So I don't know if they'll immediately go in and be in the top 3 of the MAC, but I definitely think they can be competitive, especially because they have supposedly tens of millions of dollars in NIL pledges once they go FBS. And so if they can unlock that, they can use that obviously to recruit and to retain. The recruiting pitch is interesting because you're saying, hey, we're FBS, but if you're in the Mountain West or the Pac-12, tell the parents, hey, you can travel and play San Jose State or Fresno State, whoever. Now it's like, does playing Buffalo and Akron and Bowling Green, how much does that move the needle?
Right.
I mean, it probably moves the needle more than playing Weber State and, Idaho State. But, again, this wasn't, in my opinion, their top 5 destinations on where they wanted to go, but it's FBS and, that's where they wanted to go.
Take it when you can get it on that. Give me a sense from people you've talked with over the last 6 days on the North Dakota State move and what the FCS reaction has been from what you've heard and gathered.
Yeah, I think it kind of depends who you ask, right? If you ask, teams in the southeast, southeast, maybe even West Coast a little bit, they're not too bothered with it. If anything, they're kind of excited that, NDSU being at the top of the FCS was getting redundant for a lot of people. So for those fan bases, they're, kind of saying, yeah, they're still the monsters of the FCS, like Montana State and Montana, South Dakota State. But hey, it's one less hurdle for us to potentially make a deeper playoff run. So I think there is some excitement from those fan bases. Even within, the Missouri Valley Football Conference, some fan bases might say, hey, it's about time, was kind of tired of the Bison. But when you talk to, the Montana folks or the other Dakota folks, there's definitely a certain level of not concern, but what happens next for us? Like the FBS wants now, in my opinion, increases for those other teams, or those other programs, whether do they have the money to make the jump like NDSU does? I don't know. There's really no reason for the Mountain West to add 2-3 more FCS teams.
Correct.
Like they don't need to do that. Again, they didn't need to add NDSU. And so I've seen like some national college football accounts saying, oh, South Dakota State is going to be close behind NDSU and the Montana schools are going to be right there going to the Mountain West. You never know with realignment. Yeah. You can't say anything definitively, but I have a hard time seeing that happening. So I definitely think, from what I've noticed, most South Dakota State fans and Montana State fans are still comfortable in the FCS. They still enjoyed the FCS. But the percentage of them that all of a sudden want to go FBS, that is increasing. I still think it's below 50% as far as those fan bases wanting to go to the FBS. But when you see NDSU make the jump and you're those fan bases and you look around and go, who else is treating football like we are, that number continues to get lower and lower in the FCS. So that's kind of just the overall reaction that I've seen.
Last thing before I let you go, this was something that McFeely and I were talking about over the weekend as well, that the breakaway we've talked about with the Power Four, I think that is even less inclined to happen. There's a 6-year contract now the CFP is starting this upcoming year through 2031. And if it does happen, Sam, and we've talked about this before, would there be any inclination for those other FBS schools to invite any other FCS schools? That's why I think NDSU and Sac State, they wanted to get in the party, because if that ends up being the tent, then they're already in it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I remember saying that a couple of years ago about the potential Power Four split and then the group of 6 in the top of the FCS merging. And I was thinking about it, and I think I posed the question either on a podcast or in a tweet, and then I said, hey, everyone's just assuming that merger would happen. What if it doesn't? What if the group of 6 says, we already feel relegated to now this Tier 2 FCS 2.0 with 60 whatever teams? Like, why would we want to, quote unquote, water ourselves down even more and get closer to the FCS by bringing us together? No, we're good with our 60 teams in our own, playoff system. So, it goes back to that. Do you want to get in the boat now, no matter what? So you're in that boat, or there's some other ADs in the past that have said, we don't want to jump to the FBS when we don't know what the FBS is going to look like in 10 years. So, you kind of, who knows if that Power Four split is ever going to happen. I kind of look toward the 2030s when the CFP media deal is up, the SEC media deal is up, and the Big Ten media deal is up. That's billions of dollars on the line between those 3 media deals. We can maybe see some separation there, but when we talk about the Power Four splitting off, we're not talking about 4 years from now. Like, it's going to be 2036, 2040, like a long time from now. But you have to position yourselves now for what's going to happen in 10, 15 years.
I say this half joking. Who's next? Who's next to go?
Well, I tweeted my top 3 last week, and I got number 1 was Sac State, so I got that one. So if I'm going to be continuing to be right, number 2 is going to be Tarleton State, and then number 3 is going to be UC Davis. As far as FCS to FBS movements, I don't think that's happening anytime soon. Tarleton wants to go, but the Mountain West, I don't know. Conference USA, I don't know. UC Davis, I think eventually we expect them to get into the Mountain West for football. It's a natural fit. But UC Davis right now is comfortable in the FCS. They want to continue to build, their overall infrastructure as a football program. In their stadium, they're making some upgrades. So UC Davis isn't in a rush like Sac State was to go FBS, but I think at some point we kind of expect the dominoes to fall where Davis will get in, but that might not be until 29, 30, somewhere around there.
Great stuff as always, bud. Appreciate it. Be well, and we'll talk next week, okay?
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Sam Herder joins us on each and every Monday morning at get our week started at 9:35. 2 for 2 here over the last 2 weeks on FCS teams moving up. Sacramento State to the tune of $23 million is now an FBS school. We wait for Maction with Sac State and Kent State on a Tuesday night. As Sam mentioned, now they could do double headers if they wanted, with Sac State being the home team with a 9 o'clock start for Maction. Let's go. We'll break. We come back. We'll wrap up our first hour. Jeff Kolpack coming up in hour 2 as well. Back on a Monday morning edition of Hot Mike. We're back after this. On here on this Monday morning. Update from Milan. The United States women have scored first about 5 minutes into the game against Sweden in the Olympic semifinal. I should put out a warning here that we're going to spoil it. 1-0 USA early on in that one from Milan. Appreciate Sam giving us a few minutes. Just going back to what we were talking on the Sac State deal. Just the timeline of this is wild. They appealed to be an FBS independent. That happened last summer. That was denied. They didn't get any invitation from a league. They were prepared to be an FCS independent this year because the Big Sky kicked them out. Because if you're not in the Big Sky in football, you can't be in the Big Sky. Football is the core membership part of that. If you're not a football member, then you got to get out. And so they're going to go to the Big West for the remainder of their sports, like baseball, where Connor Entz is, Matt Entz's youngest, is pitching for the Hornets. That's where the rest of their sports are going to be housed, much like NDSU is going to remain in the Summit League for its majority of its sports and then play football in the Mountain West. So they were already scouring for that, and now apparently it's the MAC. Pete Thamel's story on ESPN. Luke Wood and athletic director Mark Orr have been looking to leverage the area's top 20 television market. Again, I don't know how big a deal that is. Hey, we want Sacramento in the league with Buffalo and Kent State and Toledo and Buffalo, New York. I don't think the MAC touts Buffalo as a huge television market, but maybe I'm wrong on that. They just hired Mike Bibby as its men's basketball coach. Shaq is like a voluntary GM for the men's basketball team. Yeah, you heard me right. Shaquille O'Neal is for basketball. But like I said, football, they had Cam Scadaboo for that team in 2022. And then Scadaboo left and transferred and went and was a great player at Arizona State for his final 2 years in college before he went to be a Giant this past season and was great with the Giants before he got hurt. But that 22 team that had Scadaboo, they won the Big Sky. They were the number 2 overall seed that year. They struggled to win their first-round game. Gosh, I want to say maybe it was Stephen F. Austin in the second round in 2022. They won that game, barely, then had Lindsey Scott and Incarnate Word come to town in the greatest game you can ever imagine. It was 66-63. And Incarnate Word won the game to go and eliminate Sac State. Sac State's best team couldn't make it out of the quarterfinal round. So does that translate? I don't know. There have been some teams that we've thought, well, like Mo State. Mo State's a great example. Mo State had 1.5 good years of FBS football in our time, FCS football, right? They won 8 games their last year, and then the weird spring season, they won a co-championship of the conference. That's it. Then, look, they make the move to FBS. They won 8 games in a bowl game in their first year. So maybe Sac State will go and dominate the MAC. Who knows? I can tell you this. Now they're looking for games. Wouldn't surprise me if we see NDSU and Sacramento State maybe as a game this upcoming fall. We'll see. That is still up in the air. Let's break. We come back. We'll start our second hour. Jeff Kolpack around the bend. Hour 2 of a Monday morning edition of Hot Mike will start after this.
This is Hot Mike. Hot Mike. On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo. It's that time. An author.
Offensive production, number 1. Number 2, I forgot.
Golfer.
It'd be like going on a 3-person best shot, and we were saying, Kolpack, you got to make a 25-footer every time. You wouldn't putt first. I'd have Tim putt first.
And one heck of a TV personality.
This game is for the Cooper Cup.
It's the Forum's Jeff Kolpack.
4! I should have yelled 2.
There he is, our guy Jeff Kolpack. His appearances are brought to us each and every Monday by Northwestern Mutual. Good to see you, my man. How
Good
are
to
you?
see you.
Back from Grand Forks. You were up covering the Bison women's game against UND, which I'll get to in a second. Our last segment, we had Sam on with the news of Sacramento State. Your friends in Sacramento are moving up to the MAC. MACtion. What do you make of that?
Well, I was impressed by their persistence.
Oh, that's one word for it.
And I think that's what you need to get in. I think one thing we've learned in the last week with NDSU going to the Mountain West, this doesn't happen over a course of a few weeks. You got to put yourself out there. Now, NDSU, I was really impressed how they did it with such a tight circle.
Yeah.
2 or 3 people maybe knew up at, I don't think any of the assistants knew. Or
as far as we could tell, not yet.
No,
from what I've asked in the last 7 days.
And so obviously, in going through this and reporting this, that's what it takes. Now, Sac State was a little...
They were the complete opposite of that. They let everybody
go. They threw everything against the wall.
They did. They definitely did.
But it worked. With $23 million, I guess it worked.
Right. They were willing to pay whatever. I think the president was as outward about that as you could be. Like, you could read between the lines that whatever cost it's going to take, we will spend it to make sure this happens.
It's just bizarre to me, though, when you look at the comparison of NDSU and Sac State and the money both invested. Now, NDSU can probably see it because they raised $54 million for a private indoor.
Yep.
They've had their budget up at the top levels for decades. They were the top spenders in Division II in the 80s and 90s. Took the program to Division I, went right to 63 scholarships.
Yeah.
They have invested over the period of decades and decades. Sac State, I'm going, where did this come from?
Yeah.
Your stadium stinks.
Right.
They don't have really any indoor practice facilities that I know of. I guess I've never been there.
Yeah.
Just never really had success.
Right. They made a couple of quarterfinals is about it for Sacramento State. Well,
$23 million just kind of comes out of nowhere.
Well, you could say
they were saying they had $50 million.
Yeah, you could say the same thing, honestly, maybe not exact monetary as with Missouri State. Mo State decided, and granted, it wasn't the amount of, they didn't have the $5 million to pay because they went in under the old $5,000, but like, where's Mo State getting the kind of funds that they're going to need to compete in Conference USA? And they won 8 games at a bowl game in their first year in FBS football.
I don't know. Is the owner of the Flame Restaurant in Springfield, Missouri? Is he
got some cash?
Got some cash?
We showed the highlights to start the show. You were up in Grand Forks yesterday. Bison women make it 21 in a row in a game that, I mean, it was, could I say, moderately close into the first quarter, and then at halftime it was donezo after that?
Yeah, well, the Hawks did well to, I think, keep it close as they could and battle pretty hard, I thought, in the first couple quarters. That being said, Jory takes a technical foul.
Yeah.
I think he sensed, and he admitted it after the game, I think he was sincere when he goes, I go, were you trying to inject something into your team? And he goes, yeah, it was intentional. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
he told me this too earlier. The first one he got didn't count. He said he's good for one a
season. Good for 1 year. Has run out of games, and I thought it was time to get one. He was obviously joking a little bit there. Well, he goes, I didn't deserve the first one, whenever that was, early in the season.
Well, certainly it worked, because after that, Bison put the hammer down. Got Kraswinski 3 at the end of the first half, put it a 13-point lead, and after that, Jeff, the Bison rolled in the second half.
You just look at the makeup of these teams, and I wrote about it in my column that, boy, times have changed. UND was pretty good in their 2013-18. Travis Brewster.
Absolutely. Made it the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, making a run at Big Sky's titles. Yep. Man, things have changed. I don't think UND had any chance athletically to win this game. And they're coming here in 2 weeks. Now, there's always a miracle on ice. I get that. But I just you look at the difference in these teams and programs and where they're at.
And then you could say, and you did write this, I remember Lexi Clabo playing for UND in that time stretch you're talking about, when the Bison were in bad straits like UND is now. And, like, boy, the talent disparity is not even close right now.
But even NDSU in their really down years under Marin and Carolyn Dehoff, they always, I thought, had an athlete or two, like a Brooke Lamar, Marina Whittle. You know, they had players.
Abby Plucker,
I mean, at least they had, something like that. UND has just got a long way to go.
It's not good right now.
No.
And, I mean, they lost to Omaha. Omaha didn't have a Division I win prior to them beating UND a couple weeks ago. That's not great. And obviously, Schiller leaving was the tip of the iceberg. They lost a bunch of their good players. Kira Pemberton is at Baylor. Ibrahim left, who was their big, tall shot blocker last season. That is, I mean, and Dennis Hutter was put in a really almost impossible situation there to try and field a team. And I don't know. I don't know how you do that.
I think if you had any question on why Jocelyn Schiller left Grand Forks, any question at all, it was probably answered yesterday.
How was that reaction when she came out yesterday?
No, there was a pretty different. It was an ovation. I sense a couple boos.
Just a couple, though. It was not at all.
It was nothing. No. But and again, I wrote this that UND has bigger issues than to worry about former players. They got a lot bigger issues.
So we showed the standings earlier. Bison now are 4 games left in the regular season. They got St. Thomas here at home on Thursday. South Dakota on the road next Saturday will be intriguing because USD's in second right now, and they beat the Jackrabbits at home. And then SDSU and UND to wrap the year.
Yeah, there's still a lot going on.
There's still monster games left. But there is the potential that they have a chance to win the league against the Jackrabbits in Fargo a week from Wednesday.
Wow.
Right? I mean, what universe are we living in that could be reality now?
It's the portal era where NDSU gets a good player like Schiller, makes a big difference.
And recruited well. You say that Jory Collins and Dylan Geiser have found, obviously they found Avery Coonan. They got Carrington Asp, who was, the Jackrabbits were trying to get her as well, that her parents played college ball in South Dakota. Those are two big recruiting wins that the Bison just frankly didn't have in that stretch that we were talking about.
Yeah, Avery is just a genius recruit. I mean, she was a good high school player, but she was more of an athlete, a triple jump champ without even practicing it. Those are the recruits in the mid-major level that you take and develop.
The Bison men took care of business as well on Saturday. They were down 1 at halftime, Jeffrey, to UND, 32-31, and then outscored UND 52-33 in the second half. We showed the montage of Markai Strickland dunks that happened in the second half of that game, but this was a 180 to what happened in this game.
Yeah, it seemed to me Markai in the first half was, I don't want to say checked out, but didn't really see
tentative is maybe
engaged like maybe he could be. He checked in the second half.
Yeah.
I mean, after one of those 1 or 2 dunks, it's like, wow, it's Trayvon.
That one right there.
Trayvon Wright from 2014.
That's what I said. Like, there's nobody who dunks it like him since Trayvon, because Trayvon's waist was level with the rim when he was
and there's a certain power and explosiveness from point A at the floor to the rim.
Yeah. That's
just a God-given ability.
Yep. Bison get the victory. Now, as we mentioned, have a 2-game lead on St. Thomas and a 3-game lead on UND. UND's probably out of the conference race. It's NDSU and St. Thomas. And remember, the Bison go to St. Paul a week from Thursday.
I don't think they played particularly well.
They have not in the past. They got blown out last year when they were down there. That's the old arena. Now, obviously, this is the new one. St. Thomas saw its home win streak snapped by UND a couple weeks ago. But the Bison you can't overlook this one. They got South Dakota State coming up on the road on Wednesday. And I know the Jacks are where they are. You look at the league standings.
But it's still in Brookings.
Right, it's the Jackrabbits. Yeah. This is going to be their Super Bowl. They have a chance to maybe beat the Bison on Wednesday night. It's going to be a huge game down there.
And that's obviously one of the toughest mid-major places to play in the country. Yeah. They've done a great job in their renovation. Have always had great fan support.
Andy Stefanowicz, I thought, was really, really
good.
He's
shooting it at a high level.
Really good. He made 5 threes on Saturday. I mean, just in passing the ball, he's just been dynamite in sharing things with Amari Wheeler-Thomas.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being best, where do you think you put his improvement as a shooter from last year?
Well, about a 13, maybe?
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't a bad shooter, but I think and when he's taking it, it's pretty much, it's going down. I mean, it's hard to imagine
a couple have been contested from out there, too.
Yep, and it was Saturday. He had a couple that were guys right in his face, and he drilled. That, to me, the fact that they can have both him and Wheeler-Thomas out there at the same time is just a different element that other teams in the league just can't present.
At the beginning of the year, both the men and women couldn't throw it in the ocean.
No, they couldn't make a shot. I mean, I think if Jory had his druthers, if they go back and play that Gonzaga game again, if Dave can play Oregon State, I think we'd have much different results in both of those games that they're playing right now.
Because they just couldn't hit the.
No,
it was blanks.
Couldn't hit the broadside of the barn. Is exactly right on that. So Stefanowicz been good. We mentioned Markai. Travion Carson had that kind of game as well, where just had another stat stuffer game. I think it was 8, 7, and 7. I mean, his numbers are just. They're not going to blow off the page. I took a deeper look and man, that's first-team all-league kind of stats because he's great in everything.
You look at the Bison women, too. I thought they missed a lot of in-close shots, too.
Yesterday?
And they still they didn't look real energized to me in the first half.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a layoff. They hadn't played in 8 days.
Yeah.
But they still won by what?
26? I mean, it got up by 30 as 1 point in the game yesterday. Yeah, they took care of business. So as we stand now, can we talk bracketology? Will you roll your eyes at me now? We can do that now, right? Because here we are. We're on the back end of February, man.
I know. I'm with you.
Selection Sunday is less than a month away. CBS this morning has the Bison as a 14 seed on the men's side facing Kansas. Have we seen that before? We've seen that act before.
We need to bring Ben Woodside back.
Back in 2009. That's ESPN will put its latest out tomorrow. They had the Bison women, the most recent one that ESPN did, Jeff, as a 10 seed. 10, which, again, will beg the question. We'll get this between now and wherever their season ends in the Summit. Can they get in as an at-large if they lose to the Jack. They can't lose to anybody else but the Jacks.
But if you're a 10 seed now, then it would be almost a crime. But this is a bracketology. This is not official.
Correct.
People like you sitting in the basement.
What does that mean? I don't sit in my basement to do this stuff. I'm up on the table when I do it. The net rankings, let's do this very quick before we go to break, because I want to chat some football on the other side. Right now, NDSU's 41 in the net. That's awfully darn good as well. But I had this question a bunch this weekend. I do not think they cannot lose to anybody but SDSU. And I don't think they can lose twice. You know what I mean? Like if they lose the game in Fargo here next week, they obviously they can't mess around and lose the Summit
Definite
Championship
collision
game.
course to play twice.
I think so. USD beat SDSU. What do we make of that?
Well,
USD Robles was great in that game. They still have to play. USD has to go to Brookings and play as well to see how that will play out. And USD struggled with Denver a couple weeks ago. So I don't know what to make of what's to come.
Does this keep you up at night?
It does, for the fact that could they get it as an at-large? Could NDSU women's basketball make it as an at-large team? If I would have told you that 10 years ago, you'd laugh in my face, right?
The pointing is
but you know
very
what I mean?
direct.
You'd laugh right in my face. Like, how is that possible?
I like laughing in your face.
Yes, I know.
It's one of my favorite pastimes.
I'm just telling you that would not been on the. You talk about how UND was where they were at in 2016 to where NDSU was 10 years later. That could be a possibility. No way. All right, let's break. We come back. We got a bunch of topics we want to hit on in the last week that we found out of the Mountain West and NDSU. Continuing story we're going to have for the next 6 months. We'll do that on the other side of the break. We're back after this. All right, welcome back, everybody. Our guy, Sam Getzinger, got this video on Saturday. So who is Tim Polasek texting here? Is it you, Kolpack? Is he texting a recruit or a donor?
No, it was me. He was wondering, he goes, this prune juice up here in the arena is really good.
I'm going to guess it's B. If I know him, it's always recruiting.
Always B.
Always recruiting.
But could be C, too.
It wasn't you?
Nope.
Yeah, donor is now way up the leaderboard now with trying to make this happen. First, before we get going, kudos to you and Mike. Awesome reporting the last week, man. You guys have been doing yeoman's work. Great stuff. I think everybody is consuming and trying to as much as we can since this became official. Reading through the contract, I got it as well. What stood out to you? Anything that really was interesting about going through the language of the Mountain West
think
deal?
it looked pretty basic contract, looked pretty standard, if you will, I think. Not that I know these contracts very well, but it seemed pretty upfront. I want to say the media stuff. I mean, you are investing in your program. That's what you mean by investing in this, because you got to make up the difference from not getting the media revenue.
Yeah, I think right, because it's not going to be there for 6 years' time unless they renegotiate. Which I tend to think, and I asked Larson this when he was here on Friday. I don't think the Mountain West went to the table with Fox and CBS and the CW without them knowing that a 10th member was coming. Now, did they know it was NDSU? That can be up for debate, but I think they knew they were adding a 10th member. I don't think they're going to go back and renegotiate. This is the deal. No, media companies don't do that.
They don't.
Unless you're the NFL.
Right.
And the NFL is the only one who can go about and do that. To me, the one thing that was interesting was the full membership clause. And I know Davis fans are screaming, well, Davis got the same deal. Yes, but no. Like they have the opportunity to apply. It does not mean the Mountain West will take them, but they have the first rights to do so.
And I think that was a backup, and pretty smartly so, to do this. If the summit explodes, if Omaha goes somewhere, St. Thomas goes to the Big East. I mean, that's all possible.
Yep.
Oral Roberts has left before.
Or Kansas City has left before. That's to say everything is A-OK on that front. I am intrigued, because you wrote about this late in the week, the reaction from around the conference. We have some familiar faces here. Jason Eck, we know.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Choate, we know well at Montana State. Aaron Bull, Craig's son, is the defensive coordinator at Wyoming. What did you make of the reaction from around the league?
From the Mountain West?
The issue joining.
I think it was pretty standard, if you will. They're not going to come out and rip it, obviously.
No.
And I think there was a little push, I'm guessing. Hey, you guys want to have a press conference?
Maybe have some media to make it known about what NDSU joining the league. Yeah.
You know, I watched the Jason Eck press conference at New Mexico. It was like an hour, but there was a fair amount of questions on NDSU.
Yes.
he was talking about coming back here and
thought he said he was done with this place. Yeah, that was great. The Nevada AD was glowing.
Didn't see that.
Glowing about the addition. Stephanie Rempe is the AD at Nevada, was glowing about North Dakota State's addition. Timmy Chang, who's the head football coach at Hawaii, was all about, hey, this is going to be a great addition for our conference about adding NDSU. Here's the thing, and you wrote this, you experienced this full bore in the fall of 2008. The NDSU was picked to win the former Gateway Football Conference.
Northern Iowa didn't like
before
that.
they even played a down in that league. I don't know if we're going down that same path here in 2026, but these teams will be ready to take their shot, I would say, against NDSU.
But isn't the goal, I think, this in the first year, a realistic goal is to be bowl eligible if you do indeed.
Oh, I think beyond
get the
that,
waiver.
I think win
7-5.
I mean, who's your non-conference against? You got to tell me that.
Well, again, we don't know. Yeah. But I just think as a general goal isn't that what all these teams that you want to be bowl eligible?
Yes. Yep. I think NDSU is always beyond that. I'd say 8-4, 9-3 is what they're looking at here. And granted, this. We haven't even started our projection of the team.
Schedule.
But we haven't even looked at the team yet. You know what I mean? Like I was prepared to start doing that in February. I started looking at positions. Now it's a totally different look at this football team now.
And let's not mix this year's team to next year's team. I think going into this NDSU has more questions, certainly on offense, than they have in a long time.
I would, quarterback.
Lost a lot in the portal.
Quarterback is a question mark.
So they're not exactly, and Mike brought this up, going in real fully loaded here either.
No, it was not like
you have a new starting quarterback.
Last year's team, right.
New starting running back.
Yep.
New left tackle, or mostly new left tackle.
Yep.
You lost your middle linebacker. I mean, you got question marks up and down the lineup here.
To your point, new kicker.
New
long snapper. You can't mess with that. They have pieces back, but you're exactly right. This is not the 2024 Bison.
This is not 2019
or the
heading into it.
Or the 2025 Bison, I'd even say, with the amount of talent they knew they had coming back on the roster last season, that is not what they have in 2026.
And again, be careful. I'm not going to say there's not talent there. We just don't know. There's just
right.
Yeah.
So that's
a lot of younger guys are going to have to grow up in a hurry.
Have not played before on that. I got an email to ask you about this, about NIL chaos, because your story you wrote on Craig Bowl blew up online. It did really, really well.
Made
what do
the
you think
circles
of
nationwide.
what Bowl is doing right now to combat what's going on in the agent world in college football?
You know, Craig, when he retired from Wyoming, you thought, okay, is this guy really going to retire?
Nope.
He's actually, I think, working harder than ever.
He might be busier now.
He's just sort of got this. I feel like he's trying to save college football.
Yes. From itself,
and he's
honestly.
putting on his back. He and Bob Nielsen at the AFCA down there in Waco, Texas.
I'd be intrigued to see how this plays, because I mean, there are some.
But Craig's
people around this
He's
industry.
a pilot. He's one of these guys. He's always got to be on the move. I mean, he was always moving, traveling, flying. I remember in practice in the early days, he'd fly to Minneapolis on Delta, take this 5 a.m. flight, and take the 1 p.m. flight and be back for practice. That's how you recruited Grant Olson.
Exactly.
Be down in Wayzata in the morning, come back for practice.
Back in the afternoon. Hi, Dom and Jeff. A number of us Bison fans would like to know why the entrance fee last year for Northern Illinois was $2 million, and our entrance fee a year later is $12.5 million. Can you help us out with this?
Because they can.
Negotiation. Well, exactly right. Actually, the Mountain West wanted it higher. The Bison negotiated that down to $12.5 million. That's exactly why.
And again, I know you and Mike talked about this, but you know, when NDSU went Division I, we didn't know the caliber competition. We didn't know what FCS was like or 1AA at the time. When they beat Montana in 03, you're going, what? How is that possible? Then they get into it. Then we go to all these places. We go to Nacogdoches, Texas, Georgia Southern. We went all around the country, and you come back to Fargo and go, oh, hey, maybe this isn't as bad. Maybe Joe Chapman was right here.
Yep.
And so on that note, now that we've been reporting on this, granted only a week, on potential Power 4 split, and you and Sam brought it up, I just don't know if there's many FCS schools in line to get in again.
No, I do not.
Because I was of the ilk that when they split, eventually if the Power 4 ever splits, and now I have my doubts that'll ever happen.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to break up the NCAA tournament.
Nope.
Basketball. So even if that happens, now that we've been reporting and now that we're asking and talking to people, you're going, wow. It's not like all these, Montanas are going to go, okay, we'll go now. Here's a couple million.
Right. No.
I don't know if the price will ever come down.
No, it's not coming down. The baseline is now set at 18. If you want it in, it's going to be higher than that going forward. I don't see it coming down.
This is stuff.
Why would a league do that?
When I was sitting here 2 weeks ago, I had no idea because we just didn't need to report on it.
Right.
But now that you're asking around and asking questions, you go, oh.
Yeah, and to what Mike reported as well, talking with the consulting firm that he dealt with, that there are no Missouri Valley or the two Montanas are not next up in who he's dealing with about moving up from FCS. That tells you again that South Dakota State, the Montanas, were fine talking about it, but not in a position to, if the phone call came, and that's what Larson and I were talking about, the phone call came, you have to say yes.
Because
can't call back.
The split would have to happen, which I don't think it will.
No,
now.
No, they're under contract until 2032 now.
And B, there's a cost to this, and they're not going to let you in just because they need more programs.
No.
I didn't know this either. They don't need more programs.
They do not. They could say in this make-believe world that the power of, and I've talked about it before, that think they would do this. Like, why would they? But let's just envision, okay, they do, that, okay, the group of 6 now has 65, 70 schools. Why do we need any more? We can go and do our own thing, and we're going to have our own playoff, and there we go.
And I guess it's not that I didn't know. It's just I've never looked into it.
Yeah.
And now, after a week of reporting on this, it's changed my mind.
Last thing before we go, for your friends, colleagues, associates you've dealt with in the last 7 days, what's the reaction been that this is now outside of the media world that the Bison are doing
my
this?
friends, my circle is 98% into it.
Yeah,
absolutely. I've run into so many people. My wife and I were out for dinner on last Friday night and ran into people. I can't wait for this.
Yeah.
And people I sort of know, but not really.
Yeah,
that have no reason to come up to me and talk about football. And so I have gotten a huge vibe different of opinion.
My wife was besieged this week at a couple spots. Wait, what does Dom think about this? Well, you can watch his show. That's what she said. That's a perfect answer.
Good answer.
On that. But yeah, I would tell you there is some
I guess
renewed
we'll find out.
vigor, I think.
There's no question about that. I guess we'll find out on ticket sales and season and all that.
Anecdotally, we were up at the Shack, Sam and I, and the line was steady when we were up there for season tickets up at the Shack when we were up there last week. So, and that was post Mountain West announcement.
I was on the Las Vegas ESPN radio show guy last week.
Ooh, big timer now.
Yeah.
You're done with Hot Mike? You can go do spots.
I'm thinking about it.
Got it.
I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it.
What do they have to say?
And I go, yeah, this program got sick of winning. And they're going, what?
Yeah.
I go, it's a real thing. It's a real phenomenon. Because after 10 titles in 15 years, people just got tired of going to games and being at B-dubs at halftime.
Look at the photo.
Or Labby's at halftime.
Look at the photo of the Dome in December. Yeah. That's all you need to know.
It's like, I go, it's a real thing. They got sick of winning. I know it sounds ridiculous. Yep. I know you're thinking I'm some jackhammer in Fargo saying they got sick of winning, but they got sick of winning.
Exactly
they did.
Right. No doubt.
Unbelievable.
The commission will be here tomorrow, so she's doing a site visit.
We'll see how sick of winning they are when they're getting beat by Air Force 39-6.
Polisic doesn't need, it's like the shakes when you bring up Air Force around them.
Oh, the discipline.
Yeah, exactly.
The triple option. Oh, my God.
Great to see you. Thanks for coming by as always.
I'm just getting going. Do I have to go?
Yeah, we got a break here.
Yeah.
It's part of the deal. Jeff Kolpack joins us each and every Monday at 10. Yeah, you go back to Vegas. Go for it. We'll break. We come back. We got a bunch of emails, texts to get to, your questions on the Bison of the Mountain West. We'll do that when Hot Mike returns. Back after this. Welcome back, everybody. Hot Mike rolls on here on this Monday morning. Tomorrow, NDSU men's basketball coach Dave Richmond will join us. Get ready for the Bison matchup with South Dakota State on a Wednesday-Saturday deal for the Bison this week. That's coming up tomorrow on the show. Updating the women's hockey score. United States still with a 1-0 lead early in the second period of the semifinal game with Sweden. Winner goes to the gold medal game. U.S. has scored 5 goals on every opponent so far in this tournament. They have not allowed a goal in 4 games, and that shutout streak is still going. Again, winner goes to the gold medal game. That comes up on Thursday in Italy. All right, we got a bunch more emails we still haven't had time to get to, and I've had more drop in over the weekend. which I appreciate because I saved a few that said, all right, you know what, we're going to save some time here on Monday and try and get to as many as we can over the next few days. So the email sounder is gone, so I guess we better start reading them. This is on the scheduling. Dom, thanks for the great article. Helps bring some clarity of mind to a murky world of scheduling. I'll soon be paying for my season tickets without knowing exactly what I'm getting or how the schedule will fit in with other life events. One day at a time. That is exactly right. Because as we know, the league schedule will be out at the end of the month. And that's something we'll ask tomorrow. The commissioner and the assistant commissioner are going to be here. John Sullivan is the assistant commissioner to Gloria Navarez, and he does all the football scheduling. So we'll pepper him with as many questions as possible. That'll be available for our show on Wednesday. But that's the tricky part of this about putting money down for season tickets is we don't know the 4 teams that are going to be here for NDSU to play at home. None. Or the 4 road teams. I think everybody is under the assumption that the Bison will go to Hawaii this year, but that's not a hammerlock guarantee that is going to happen for the upcoming season. It could. Again, what Navarez said when I asked about it was about the triangulation of Northern Illinois, NDSU, and Honolulu. We'll get more on that. We read about the entry fee. Dom, read your article on scheduling. Question, the Bison are to play Hawaii in Hawaii. You would not have a definite day or time because of TV? With hotels, travel, etc., that it's quite a burden on fans going there. Am I correct, or is the game window tight enough that you could make your plans and it would work out? Could you reply to this email in case I miss your broadcast? I will reply, but I also will answer on the air. Typically, with the Hawaii games, there is no fluctuation outside of the time of the game. The game is going to be on that date. They're not going to say it's going to be a Friday or a Saturday. That typically is going to be a Saturday. It might be earlier, or it could be an 11 p.m. Central Time start. That is very possible on that. That we just don't know. But in terms of specific answering on that, it's likely going to be on a Saturday night. Here's another one. Dom, first I want to say I love the show. I think I can count on 2 hands the number of Hot Mic episodes I haven't listened to since its inception. Appreciate that. Saw a video come across my timeline, details NDSU's TV ratings and isolates it against other compatible matchups over the same time periods. Ultimately shows that NDSU is and was a unique ratings draw in every conceivable way when compared to other G6 schools. You're going to love the video. It will be excellent to share some of the graphics on the show as well. He says, I think we can finally put to bed the notion that big TV market equals good ratings. For the billionth time, quality matchups drive good ratings. I know you understand this. The amount of times I've heard the opposite online is mind-numbing. I appreciate that. And he's exactly right. If you have a good game, it's just going to get more people to come in. It's just the NFL is the only one that can get viewers in, even if the matchup is bad. Like, even if we've seen this before, even if you have a bad like Thursday night game and they've tried to schedule away from that, they still get a ton of people watching because it's the NFL. College football is close to that, but not there all the way. College football is the second most popular sport we have in this country, and the amount of eyeballs that are even on, you want to talk about, well, nobody watches the bowl games. That's just not accurate. People do. People watch the bowl games with high numbers. You know, we're talking 4.5, 5 million people. That's a lot of eyeballs. I mean, we were doing jumping jacks and cartwheels over Montana State getting, what was it, 2.8 for that game on ABC. That's really good. It's football on in the middle of the day. Yeah, that's excellent. And I know the NFL had its games on that day. The Eagles and Commanders, I think, played, and then obviously the Bears and Packers played that night. That's really good. Bowl games typically do double that. Just for the argument and the people out there hammering me that say that nobody watches the bowl games, that is not accurate under any circumstance. Dom, will we in the Twin Cities be able to watch Bison games on local TV channels, Xfinity or ESPN streaming? Those you listed, CBS Sports Network, Fox, FS1, and the CW Network. You will be able to watch on local channels if the Bison are on, Fox, which I think has rights to one game, CBS, and the CW. Those are available. I don't know the channel listings in the Twin Cities to heart on that, but they will be available. ESPN streaming, no. CBS Sports Network will stream their games on their app. Like if you were watching the Bison UND basketball game, streaming that this weekend, that's where you'll find some Bison football games. If you were, the Fox app will have a game if the Bison are on FS1. CW will go through the Mountain West app. That's what you're going to have to get that one too. What I'm telling you is you'll need more. That's the best way I can sum it up. And until we know the TV schedule, which won't be till late May, at least for the first couple games, that's when you'll find that out. Best way I can help you on that, but that's where we're going. I wanted to get this one in too. It's been nonstop talk about new places for Bison fans to travel. What benefit does this actually provide NDSU football? How many fans will actually travel? And Chad emailed me, and I'm going to call him out because he emails the show all the time, watches the show all the time, and I appreciate that. Because he responded to me when I said it. He's a completely overdone talking point on what we were discussing. And I wanted to go back into this a little bit because the benefit of it to me about travel destinations, where they're going, all of that, what benefit is it? It's more interest in the program, first off. Second, that gets people to go to the actual games because over the last 7-8 years, they've had people struggling to go. And frankly, who you get coming here, I think will attract people to go. Regardless if they want to see NDSU play, some might want to see the Air Force play in person, right? Triple option offense, just the Air Force Academy carries with it a certain weight. And not even talking the non-conference games. Like, let's get crazy for a second. What if the Naval Academy were to come here? What if the Bison were to play Navy? It's not in the realm of possibility now. You're not going to come to that? Or if the Bison go to Annapolis? Yeah, I think there might be some people that would go find a way to get to Maryland to go to the game. If you're a conference of, UNLV, I think there'd be some butts in the seats to come see them. Even San Jose State or Nevada. I think there's going to be a natural Wyoming rivalry. I do. And if UTEP is on the home schedule, it's like University of Texas El Paso. Okay, it's not Western Illinois. It's not Murray State. We want to go down that road again? The Western Illinois game, the last time the Bison played the Leathernecks, which was the fall of 23, right? I think the starters were out of that game at halftime. I mean, come on. People go back and watch the Murray State game last November or October of 2024. Tell me those are FCS teams, right? Tell me that those are not the same, right? On paper, they are. They're both in the same division. But with our eyes, our brains, we can figure out they're not. That's what we're talking about. That's, to me, where you're going to get more interest in people to come to the games that had not been coming before, because now this is a reality. In the past, it just was not that. I mean, people would look. NDSU would tell you this. Maybe they tell you it now. To me, in the past, they would look at their home schedule because they know it a couple years out. Like, oh, boy. Like 2025 was one of them. This past fall. What do the Bison have for their home opponents this past year? They had South Dakota, which had a little bit of vim and vigor to it because USD had beaten the Bison to end last season and was coming in with a high preseason ranking. Southern Illinois, okay. St. Thomas, Northern Iowa, SEMO, right? That was their home schedule. There was no South Dakota State, no UND. So automatically there wasn't a lot of juice already to the home schedule. So now it's just completely changed on that. Let's do one more before we break. Good morning, Dom. It's been mentioned the Bison covered the costs for being in the FCS championship game. Do we have any idea how much it costs teams to participate in the championship game? Does the same apply to FCS away playoff games? Thank you. NCAA picks up the tab on road playoff games. Let's answer the second part first. As far as the FCS championship game, NCAA picks up the tab of flying the team, but NDSU always brought everybody, right? They were going to bring the entire roster down, so that meant all the walk-ons and the redshirt freshmen were coming. All the support staff was coming. And you can say, well, they didn't need to do that. You're right. NDSU did. They lost money on that. They did. Of going to Frisco, that cost them money. And you can say, well, they didn't need to bring the whole, well, that's a big deal. It was the FCS championship. They're going to go and do that. But it was a net loss in terms of money. I can tell you that from what I've been told from past trips down there. Just facts we're pointing out here on the move. So, again, commissioner will be here tomorrow, assistant commissioner as well. Stay tuned for much more on their conversations we'll have later on in the week. Looking forward to that. We'll take our final break. We come back. We'll get you ready for a busy Sports Monday. We'll update the U.S. game in Milan. That's coming up when Hot Mike wraps here on WDAY Extra and Inforum.com right after this. All right, wrapping things up. Shout out to our guy, Ben Becker, who's got the drone, who got some cool shots outside the station here. You're going to start seeing more of these throughout the show and hoping to do this for a bit. So thanks to Ben, who got these yesterday for us all around the building. Good stuff. We'll have more of that. Sprinkle it in throughout coming days, weeks. You'll see it here on the big show. All right, wrapping things up here. As I mentioned, Dave Richmond will be with us tomorrow. And we'll recap the U.S. game with Sweden. The U.S. men, you saw in the bracket earlier, will not play till Wednesday against either Sweden or Latvia. That game is tomorrow at the Olympics as we are winding them down. We've gotten to the week 2 now. We're on the back end of it. A couple things we didn't have time to get to with Jeff. It came official. I reported it on Friday. The Bison football team is hired a cornerbacks coach. Eric Amako is coming to NDSU after spending the last couple years at Campbell University. That's located in North Carolina. Amako spent his final year of college football actually playing for the University of Minnesota. Got his collegiate coaching career actually started at Wyoming with Tim Polasek and Sam O'Jury when they were both there in 2020 and 2021. He actually was hired at Stephen F. Austin late last month and left that job to take this job after Lewis Walker left this job to take the cornerback's job at BYU. Walker was here for all of a year and then decided to take the job at BYU back in his home state. So that now will fill out the Bison football staff for 2026, and he'll have to work with a group that is very young. That cornerbacks group, you're talking about questions about the Bison football team for the upcoming season. That would be one of the many there. They added 2 Division II transfers in DJ Volts and EJ Davis to replace Jalen Duffy and Jaquise Alexander, who both left in the portal. Anthony Shademe-Alfaro graduated. You have some younger players like a Keegan Huber, a Najee Nelson, that are hopeful for their opportunity. Amarion Moore, who redshirted last year, that they really like. Kendrick Carter, young man out of the Dallas suburbs they really like. Could this be a spot where a true freshman maybe gets on the field? The Bison hammered that in this last recruiting cycle, whether it be a Kobe Russell out of Wisconsin, who they really like, a Deron Russell out of Waseca, Minnesota, who they really, really like, who's getting all overtures to play basketball. That we'll find out in the coming months. I'd say spring football will be really interested to see how those guys, those transfers work out and see how well they click with a new guy leading them in the cornerback spot. So that was the last of the Bison football news, at least for now. I'm sure there'll be more coming in before this week is out. There's no doubt on that. Let's do some What to Watch before we get out of here. What to watch brought to us by our friends at Northwestern Mutual. Okay, as soon as we're done, you can flip on the United States game. Or if you've been watching it simultaneously, that's great. USA is now up 2-0 on the Swedes as they play in the second period of the semifinal. Winner goes to the gold medal game, which is Thursday in Italy. Houston, Iowa State. That should be a fun one. Iowa State got a big win over the weekend over KU. 8 o'clock tonight on ESPN. Yeah, we got some President's Day hoops. Women's basketball. Iowa, Nebraska coming up at the top of the hour. That game on Fox to see Bismarck's Logan Nisley in action there. Our thanks to Sam Herder and Jeff Kolpack for joining us. Missed any of the show, you can podcast it later today at Inforum.com. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Have a great Monday. See you back here tomorrow.